mobile one off.
Okay.
Echo. Good morning.
Good morning. And happy December. December's a month for gift giving, so I'll have a new present for you to unwrap each day. Just say, open my gift.
Okay, Google. Good morning.
Good morning. The time is 5:46 a.m. Currently in Raytown it's 23 degrees and cloudy. Today there will be snow with a forecasted high of 25 and a low of 18. Here's a joke to start your morning. Why shouldn't you write with a broken pencil? Because it's pointless. Have a good one. Here's the latest news. No tasks for today.
Okay, Google.
Have a good one.
Stop. Okay, Google. Continue.
Nothing's playing right now.
Okay, Google. Good morning.
Hi, it's 5:46 a.m. Right now in Raytown it's 23 degrees and cloudy. Today there will be snow with a forecasted high of 25 and a low of 18. Here's a joke to start your morning. Here's a holiday joke. What's a snowman's favorite kind of lettuce? Iceberg. No tasks for today. Have a nice day. Here's the latest news. From AccuWeather Daily at 6:45 a.m. last Friday.
From AccuWeather.com, this is AccuWeather Daily, a brief host-read article. It's weather news in a nutshell.
In Walmart's Newville, joy started to grow. For online-only savings sure to steal the show. Tech treats and toys so dazzling and new. Walmart Cyber Monday deal soon ready for you. It's online only with very little time to spare. December 1st will soon be here, so be sure to be there. The Who's are prepared. Are you ready too? A day packed with savings. Amazing! Who knew? Subject to availability, terms and fees apply.
A large area of accumulating snow will spread from the Rockies and the High Plains to much of the Midwest throughout the weekend. Motorists and airline passengers alike should anticipate substantial travel delays. Enough snow will fall to cause slippery roads in well over a dozen states, from the Rockies to the Plains, the Midwest, and even into a portion of the Appalachians. The first flakes from the storm began falling over parts of Idaho and western Montana on Thursday afternoon, and then will spread hundreds of miles to the southeast into Friday night. A coating of an inch or two of snow is forecast to fall along portions of Interstate 25 in Colorado, Wyoming, and Montana, as well as stretches of Interstates 70, 80, and 90. Denver is forecast to pick up its first measurable snow from the storm. Typically, the first snowfall occurs in mid-October in Denver. As the storm moves across the plains Friday night and into the Midwest on Saturday, an area of moderate to heavy snow will develop and expand. Travel along Interstates 70, 80, 90, and 94 will be difficult, with the potential for road closures due to accidents. AccuWeather's Carl Erickson said that the period from Saturday to Saturday night is likely to be the worst for travel, considering that the snowstorm will be in progress over such a large area. By Saturday, accumulating snow is likely to be falling along a 1,200-mile-long swath from west of Denver to east of Detroit. Airline passengers with stops or direct flights to and from Chicago, Detroit, Denver, Minneapolis, St. Louis, and Kansas City should anticipate delays and cancellations. Between 6 and 12 inches of snow is forecast to accumulate from southeastern South Dakota and Iowa through Michigan and into parts of Ontario. The AccuWeather local Storm Max snowfall for this storm is 18 inches. Rain will fall in the storm's warmer southern side, accompanied by a wintry mix in between the rain and accumulating snow. Thunderstorms in portions of Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas are forecast to be severe on Saturday, with locally strong winds, torrential downpours, and perhaps hail. As the storm swings into southern Canada later in the weekend, a mixture of snow, sleet, and rain is forecast for the northern portions of the Appalachians and the areas surrounding Lakes Erie and Ontario. This includes the northern and western parts of Ohio and Pennsylvania, as well as western, central, and northern New York and northwestern New England from late Saturday night into Sunday. Rain is forecast from southeastern New England and the mid-Atlantic to I-20 in the southeast states by Sunday. The rain and associated fog and low clouds can be enough to slow motorists down on the highways and may lead to delays at the major airports and secondary hubs in the I-85 and I-95 corridors, including Boston, New York City, Philadelphia, D.C., Charlotte, and Atlanta. Much colder air is forecast to push southward in the wake of the weekend storm. Wet and slushy areas may freeze in parts of the Midwest on Sunday night. How far the cold air advances will determine the track the next winter storm will take. Most importantly, that track will then determine where a band of snow and ice develops on the northwestern flank of the storm. Snow and an icy mix may occur for several hours from the Ozark Mountains into Arkansas and Missouri, beginning on Monday and finishing up in New England on Tuesday night. There is the potential for accumulating snow in the zone from Boston to near New York City from Tuesday into Tuesday evening. Philadelphia may start as a mix of snow and rain on Tuesday morning, with all rain farther to the south in the I-95 zone. That's all for now. You can find more regional forecasts and science-based articles at AccuWeather.com, and for your local forecast at your fingertips, download the AccuWeather app. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be safe. I'll be back tomorrow with more from AccuWeather.
From NPR News Now at 5 a.m. today.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. President Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, is expected to leave today for Moscow. He participated in weekend talks in Florida with Ukrainian officials, along with Secretary of State Marco Rubio. NPR's Michelle Kellerman reports the U.S. team says the diplomacy over Russia's war in Ukraine is complicated.
Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, joined Rubio in the talks with the delegation from Kyiv. Rubio says they made progress, and they're working on something that will be comprehensive to make sure Ukraine won't face another Russian invasion once this war ends.
It's not just about the terms that ends fighting. It's about also the terms that set up Ukraine for long-term prosperity.
The head of the Ukrainian delegation, Rustem Umerov, said the U.S. was, quote, super supportive. Michelle Kellerman, NPR News, Washington.
President Trump says he spoke with Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. NPR's Luke Garrett reports Trump continues to defend Pentagon strikes on alleged drug boats in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific.
Trump told reporters he spoke with Maduro by phone, but did not say when. The U.S. military has carried out at least 21 strikes on what in international waters, killing more than 80 people. When asked how the call went, Trump said,
I wouldn't say it went well or badly. It was a phone call, yeah.
Trump also said he wasn't aware of the controversy around Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's decision to strike a boat for a second time that still had survivors on board, as NPR and others have reported. When asked about these reported orders by Hegseth, Trump said,
He said he did not say that, and I believe him.
Trump said he had great confidence in Hegseth, but he'll look into the reports and he wouldn't have ordered a second strike himself. Luke Garrett, NPR News, Washington.
Congress is not taking Hegseth at his word. The House and Senate Armed Services Committees are both stepping up bipartisan inquiries into the deadly strikes and what Hegseth may have done. Some lawmakers say if that occurred, the order could be considered a war crime. Congress returns today from its Thanksgiving recess to face a long to-do list. That follows a record-long government shutdown. NPR's Sam Gringlas reports it failed to resolve a debate over expiring health subsidies.
For 43 days, Democrats withheld their votes on a short-term funding bill because Republicans would not agree to extend expiring subsidies for health plans purchased on the Affordable Care Act marketplace. Democrats extracted the promise of a Senate vote on the matter, but the outcome is far from clear. Some House Republicans want to join Democrats in extending the subsidies, but many Republicans who have been deeply critical of the ACA subsidies are pushing for sweeping health care reforms. President Trump has talked about ditching the subsidies in favor of putting money in health savings accounts. The subsidies are set to expire at the end of the year, spiking premiums for many Americans. Sam Gringlas, NPR News, Washington.
You're listening to NPR News from Washington. President Trump is doubling down on his plans to stop all asylum requests from 19 countries on the U.S. travel ban list. He said this ban could last a long time. Speaking last night, Trump highlighted Afghanistan The suspect in last week's deadly attack on National Guard troops in Washington, D.C. is Afghan. Today marks 70 years since Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat to a white passenger on a city bus in Montgomery, Alabama. Her subsequent arrest sparked the Montgomery bus boycott. Numerous events commemorating the historic moment are planned, as Troy Public Radio's Austin Toy reports.
7 decades later, the street corner in Montgomery, where Rosa Parks was arrested, now boasts a museum that tells her story. When the boycott began, activist Doris Crenshaw was 12 years old. She believes that even after 70 years, the fight for equality hasn't changed.
So I think we're in a cycle today that's much like what it was in the 50s or the 40s even.
Bells are set to ring at the time of Parks' arrest in Montgomery, the National Cathedral in D.C., and the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta. For NPR News, I'm Austin Toy in Montgomery, Alabama.
Today is World AIDS Day. The UN says as of last year, more than 40 million people worldwide are living with HIV. More than 40 million people have died of AIDS-related ailments since the epidemic started. The U.S. government is not formally commemorating World AIDS Day. This is NPR.
And now a message from our sponsor.
¿El nuevo iPhone 17 Pro? Haz todos sus deseos realidad con AT&T. Obtén el totalmente nuevo iPhone 17 Pro por cuenta nuestra al intercambiar tu iPhone viejo en cualquier condición, sin requerir el plan más caro.
From Fox News at 3:06 a.m. today.
Trying to end the war. I'm Ted Lindner, Fox News. Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying that this weekend's U.S.-Ukraine talks on ending the war were productive, but there's still lots of work to be done.
This is delicate. It's complicated. There are a lot of moving parts, and obviously there's another party involved here that'll have to be a part of the equation, and that'll continue later this week when Mr. Woodcock travels to Moscow.
The delegations met for about 4 hours at a golf club north of Miami as they try to create a pathway for a sovereign Ukraine. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff headed to Moscow today. Winter comes early for the Northeast as they get set for a snowstorm that'll arrive early on Tuesday and leave early Wednesday. Weather Prediction Center forecaster William Churchill says the heaviest snow will fall west of the biggest cities in the Northeast.
The snow gradient will be pretty dramatic once you get west of north and west of Philadelphia, New York, Boston, those areas. And into there, we're expecting accumulations of 4 to 8 inches generally, but could be locally higher.
The same storm system left parts of the Midwest covered in snow and delayed travel for millions of Americans looking to return home after the long Thanksgiving holiday weekend. President Trump this weekend telling reporters on Air Force One that he spoke to Venezuela's leader Maduro, but did not share details about their discussion.
I wouldn't say it went well or badly. It was a phone call.
The call comes a day after the president posted an online warning to airlines that airspace over and around Venezuela should be considered closed amid his crackdown on drug smuggling from South America to the U.S. Venezuela's government condemned the statement and accused the president of making a colonialist threat. An Airbus says less than 100 A320 aircraft remain out of service as a precautionary measure for a software modification. Around 6,000 aircraft impacted globally when a modification was ordered Friday. The grounding, ordered after an Airbus A320 experienced a sudden drop in altitude back at the end of October. America's listening to Fox News.
If you could stop somebody from breaking in before they got inside, why wouldn't you? Most old-school systems go off after someone's already in your place. That's too late. SimpliSafe is different. It's proactive with a double layer of defense that stops crime before they start. First, AI-powered cameras spot potential threats outside, then live agents step in, talking to the person through the camera, letting them know they're on video and police will be dispatched if they don't leave. They can even trigger a loud siren or spotlight. That's how you help stop a crime before it starts. Plus, there's no contracts, and SimpliSafe was just named the best home security of 2025 by U.S. News & World Report. It's also the best time to buy. SimpliSafe's last chance Black Friday sale, 50% off any new system. Hit simplisafe.com/FNC. That's simplisafe.com/FNC. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
Well, today is the first day of December, and it is also Cyber Monday, which means it's time to shop those online deals. Fox's Tanya J. Powers with more on that.
The term Cyber Monday was coined in 2005 by the National Retail Federation when they noticed an increase in online shopping on the Monday after Thanksgiving, when people went back to work. At the time, offices were likely to have faster internet connections versus home internet. This year, the National Retail Federation says almost 187 million of us will shop in stores and online between Thanksgiving Day and Cyber Monday, beating last year's record of about 183 million. And Cyber Monday may bring the best deals of that time frame. Data from Adobe Analytics found that while pre-Thanksgiving deals are around 21%, they peak at 28% on Cyber Monday. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
Well, we put a bow on Week 13 of the NFL season tonight. This week's finale features a pair of teams who have met in the Super Bowl in the past. Fox's Jay Berman with a preview.
Two teams heading in opposite directions. They meet for Monday Night Football. The 2-win New York Giants head north to face the 10-win New England Patriots. There's some good news, however, from a New York perspective. They get back Jackson Dart. The rookie quarterback has been cleared from the concussion protocol. Meanwhile, New England has won 9 in a row. They haven't lost since September. Big Blue has already been eliminated from playoff contention while the Pats continue to lead the AFC East. This is the final game before the bye for both teams. Jay Berman, Fox News.
And President Trump telling reporters aboard Air Force One Sunday that he would release the results of an MRI that he had. The White House confirming the president had the MRI during his physical last month, but they haven't released why he had it or what was on what part of his body. The president saying the results of the MRI were, quote, perfect. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt saying the results show the president remains in, quote, exceptional physical health. I'm Ted Lindner. This is Fox News.
This is Ainsley Earhart. Thank you for joining me for the 52-episode podcast series, The Life of Jesus.
A listening experience that will provide hope, comfort, and understanding of the greatest story ever told. Listen and follow now at foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you listen to podcasts.
From NPR Technology at 4:01 a.m. today.
Artificial intelligence is changing holiday shopping. According to a survey from Adobe Analytics, just over a third of shoppers in the U.S. have used artificial intelligence to help with online shopping. Adobe projects that traffic from AI sources to retail sites this holiday season will increase over 500% from last year.
Mike Tedasco has been thinking about this. He's a visiting fellow at San Diego State University's AI Center. And on this Cyber Monday, he has tips on using AI tools to find gifts without breaking the bank. Popular chatbots such as Google's Gemini, OpenAI's ChatGPT, and Anthropic's Claude can show a product's price history and make predictions about price changes.
And I would simply ask it and say, hey, this is currently at this price. What were the prices before? Does this often go down in price in December? So maybe it's worthwhile to wait. Check out other websites. And the AI tools can do that.
Tedesco says AI can also help pick out furniture or an appliance like a TV that will fit into your living room and into your budget.
You can say, hey, the couch is about 10 feet away from where the TV is going to be. How big of a screen size should I get? You can put all of this into a prompt and say, give me the recommendations of the top 5 TVs that will be the best price.
Tedesco says chatbots can also set up what's called an AI agent to keep an eye on changing prices.
You can actually have the agent scouring the website once a day, twice a day, whatever it is, and if it hits a certain price threshold, it could email you.
AI models aren't perfect, and Tedesco also reminds us that there are just some things AI cannot replace.
The most meaningful gifts that I have ever gotten have come from my children, and it's just something that they made by, their own sweat on a piece of construction paper, and those are the things we love and cherish.
AI can't do that. One thing I cherish is getting to host the show with you.
Wait, is this AI Layla? Human Layla wouldn't say that to me.
From ESPN Radio at 11:42 a.m. last Friday.
ESPN Radio Sports Beat with Evan Cohen.
Ohio State and Michigan renew their rivalry on Saturday at noon Eastern Time. Number 1, 11-0 Ohio State against number 15, 9-2 Michigan. I get how much this game means for both fan bases. It is vitally important. Some have said that game is more of a national championship than the one that each of these two teams have won over the last 2 years. But let's be honest. With a 12-team playoff, while this game is important and it is a rivalry, it's not the be-all and end-all like it used to be. The juice, still there. As much as it used to be, no. Ohio State could lose this game and easily get a first-round bye in the college football playoff and win it all. Nobody would be surprised by that. And Michigan losing this game to Ohio State is more so important for a third loss than just the game for Ohio State. I get the fans may think otherwise. While this is still the best rivalry in the sport, it's not what it used to be. The Dallas Cowboys got a great Thanksgiving Day win against the Kansas City Chiefs on Thursday. They have now won 3 games in a row. And while they are not necessarily going to be a playoff team, sitting here at 6-5-1, maybe we should start to give the Dallas Cowboys credit on some of their decisions. Yes, you heard that right. On-field decisions in and around the team for the Cowboys. I thought Mike McCarthy's hiring was a good decision. He won 12 games 3 years in a row. Now, they move on from Mike McCarthy and they go to Brian Schottenheimer, who has proven not to be better than McCarthy, but to also be a pretty good head coach. That's 2 in a row. Oh, and how about the Micah Parsons trade? Is there a chance that's just a win-win for both parties? He's been great, 12 sacks for the Green Bay Packers, but what the Cowboys have ultimately received in return in terms of draft value, Quinnen Williams, Kenny Clark, and more, been pretty good as well. Maybe we should pay attention to America's team. Some smart decisions going on in Dallas. With the ESPN Radio Sports Beat, I'm Evan Cohen.
From ABC News Update at 5:31 a.m. today.
From ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. Lawmakers of both parties are asking for answers about why survivors of the alleged drug boat strikes in the Caribbean were killed, allegedly on orders from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. ABC's Perry Russum with more from Washington.
The Washington Post reports after U.S. forces carried out a strike in September on a suspected drug boat that left 2 survivors struggling in the water, a second strike was carried out to kill them. This was allegedly done to comply with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's initial orders to kill all passengers on the boat. Now lawmakers on both sides of the aisle say Hegseth may have violated international law.
On Air Force One, President Trump was asked about it.
I don't know. I'm going to find out about it, but Pete said he did not order the death of those 2 men.
President Trump vowing to stop processing asylum claims following the shooting of those 2 National Guard members, allegedly by an Afghan national who had been granted asylum earlier this year under the Trump administration. ABC's Selena Wang.
Rights groups here are warning leaders not to demonize the whole Afghan community because of the actions of one individual. One advocate for Afghan refugees said that this community in the U.S. undergoes some of the most extensive security vetting out of any community that comes into the U.S.
There were talks in Florida over the weekend on ending the war in Ukraine, with Special Envoy planning a trip to Moscow this morning. ABC's Ian Pannell has more from Kyiv.
We now know that Steve Witkoff, he's going to get on a plane today and he's going to meet Vladimir Putin on Tuesday, that he's going to take this document to Putin and see what the Russians have to say about it. So, look, this is serious. They look serious. There is momentum. And there's real pressure from President Trump.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu asking for a pardon in his corruption trial. Major snowstorm disrupting holiday travel as folks were returning home from the Thanksgiving holiday. You're listening to ABC News. World wars are reaping big dollars for weapons manufacturers.
Wars in Ukraine and Gaza and rising military budgets have all been a boon to the world's biggest weapon-producing companies. The Stockholm International Peace Research Institute says arms revenues last year increased 5.9% to the highest ever recorded. $679 billion in 2024. More than half went to U.S. manufacturers, including Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and General Dynamics. Wayne Cabot, ABC News.
New lawsuit involving an NBA superstar that could shape the future of NASCAR racing for years to come. ABC's Sophie Flay has that.
NBA legend Michael Jordan is taking NASCAR to federal court, claiming it's a monopoly. Jordan co-owns a NASCAR team with driver Denny Hamlin. Last year, 13 of the 15 NASCAR teams signed a new deal with the racing company that determines revenue payouts. Jordan's team was one of 2 refusing to sign on, and accuses NASCAR of restricting team revenues and independence.
NASCAR insists it has done nothing anti-competitive. Today is Cyber Monday, meaning if you didn't get what you wanted on your list during Black Friday, there's still time. CNET Managing Editor Russell Holly on some of the bargains out there.
If it's AirPods, if it's a MacBook, there are significant discounts on each of those. We know that there's going to be a pretty popular Nintendo Switch deal for the Switch 2 at Amazon starting Cyber Monday.
And of course, don't forget, tomorrow is Giving Tuesday. I'm Sherry Preston, ABC News.
Minute Maid Zero Sugar tastes so amazing, you've just got to say great taste and zero sugar, and Minute Maid Zero Sugar sells itself. Great taste, zero sugar sells itself.
From AP Radio News Updates at 4:47 a.m. today.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. U.S. and Ukrainian officials spent about 4 hours in Florida discussing an endgame to the war between Russia and Ukraine. To reporters, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said Sunday's talks, which included President Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff, was a productive meeting.
But there's more work to be done. This is delicate, it's complicated, there are a lot of moving parts, and obviously there's another party involved here that'll have to be a part of the equation, and that'll continue later this week when Mr. Witkoff travels to Moscow, although we've also been in touch in varying degrees with the Russian side.
Congress members from both parties voiced support for a review of strikes against suspected drug smuggling boats in the Caribbean. This comes after the Washington Post reported that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth gave a verbal order for all crew members of a boat to be killed during a strike in September. Trump says Hegseth denied giving the order. Trump yesterday said he's invited the family of a National Guard member fatally shot last week to the White House. U.S. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom died after the Wednesday shooting in Washington, D.C. U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf remains in critical condition. AP correspondent Rika Ann Garcia reports on Honduras' presidential election just days after Trump intervened in the race.
Hondurans cast ballots to elect a new president, with voters lining up across the country to fulfill their civic duty. This comes just days after U.S. President Donald Trump intervened in the close race by endorsing one of the candidates and announcing he would pardon a former Honduran president. The country's major parties were present at a voting site in the capital, but members of the press far outnumbered potential voters initially. In addition to a new president, voters will elect a new Congress, as well as hundreds of local positions. I'm Rika Ann Garcia.
This is AP News. A top coach is leaving one SEC school for another among other college football coaching hires. Correspondent Gavin Coolball has more.
Lane Kiffin has left Ole Miss to become the head football coach at LSU. The decision comes after Ole Miss's victory over Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl, which likely secured the 11-1 Rebels a spot in the college football playoff.
That's pretty cool, especially in a the SEC's never been harder and deeper than it is now.
Kiffin expressed disappointment that he wasn't allowed to coach Ole Miss in the postseason. He was offered a 7-year contract with an average annual salary of around $13 million by LSU. Ole Miss promoted defensive coordinator Pete Golding to head coach. Elsewhere, Florida hired Tulane's John Sumrall on a 6-year deal. Michigan State is planning to hire former Northwestern coach Pat Fitzgerald. I'm Gavin Coolbaugh.
More information at apnews.com. I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
Seasons change, and life does too. But coming home brings it all back. It's Grandma's macaroni and cheese, the kind of simple goodness that makes home, home. These are the moments that gather us, the flavors that remind us where we're from. Some traditions are passed down, and some begin right here, with the ones we love most. Share your traditions at highlanddairy.com/tradition for a chance to win. Highland, locally made, naturally delicious.
From Reuters TV, U.S. at 7:46 a.m. yesterday.
Hi, I'm Evan Jacoby in Dalton, Massachusetts. It's Sunday, November 30th. Today. Trump says Venezuelan airspace should be considered closed. Ukraine targets Russia's shadow fleet. Honduras prepares for divisive elections. And companies are trying to get on your Christmas list by wooing AI chatbots. This is Reuters World News, bringing you everything you need to know from the front lines in 10 minutes, 7 days a week.
Black Friday savings are here at the Home Depot, which means it's time to add new cordless power to your collection. Right now, when you buy a select battery kit from one of our top brands like Ryobi or Milwaukee, you'll get a select tool from that same brand for free. Click into one of our best deals of the season and stock up on tools for all your upcoming projects. Get Black Friday savings happening now at the Home Depot. Limit 1 per transaction. Exclusions apply. Full eligible tool list in-store and online.
U.S. President Donald Trump says the airspace above and surrounding Venezuela should be considered, quote, closed in its entirety. He gave no further details. U.S. officials contacted by Reuters were surprised by Trump's announcement and unaware of any ongoing U.S. military operations that would merit the closure. Venezuela's government has condemned Trump's comments, describing them as a, quote, colonialist threat. Reuters footage shows U.S. military aircraft were active at the former Roosevelt Roads Naval Base in Puerto Rico on Saturday, with personnel unloading equipment from cargo planes while U.S. pressure mounts on Maduro's government. Ukraine says it's hit 2 Russian oil tankers, part of Russia's so-called shadow fleet, that export Russian oil. Video footage shared by a Ukrainian official shows naval drones speeding towards the hulking vessels, followed by powerful explosions. Reuters could not independently verify the identity of the tankers in the clips, nor the location and date of the footage. Kyiv has repeatedly called on the West to take real action against Russia's shadow fleet, which the Ukrainian government says allows large quantities of oil to flow out of Moscow and fund its war effort in Ukraine, despite Western sanctions. And before we move on, a quick reminder that we're no longer the only 7-day-a-week podcast from Reuters. In today's episode of Reuters Morning Bid, our expert journalists take a look at global markets for the week and year ahead. Find that episode at the link in the description or wherever you get your podcasts. The holiday shopping season is upon us, and big retailers are trying something new. For years, they've been chasing your attention online, trying to get consumers back in stores. Now they're chasing the attention of AI chatbots. Americans have started asking ChatGPT and other LLMs for gift ideas, and companies are scrambling to figure out how to show up in those answers. That shift is changing how companies market themselves, from churning out AI-friendly blog posts to building entire websites just for bots. E-commerce reporter Ariana McLemore says retailers see the potential and understand that holiday shopping may not start with a Google search anymore.
These bots are going in and they're scraping all of this information about products. And that can be the materials that products are made of, the size, the availability, price, and where people can buy them. And they're doing it really, really quickly. So in an effort to separate this data, retailers are building out AI versions of their e-commerce websites. In our reporting, we've seen that e-commerce platforms, brands, they're also looking at other ways to show up in the results of ChatGPT. I spoke to one company called Brooklyn, and they sell bedding materials, so, your comforters, pillows, things like that. And they said that they're applying for more awards, like finding ways to end up on a top 10 list or a top 5 list, because what's essentially happening is these AI tools are looking for the ways that humans are asking the bots questions.
Right now, AI-driven shopping is less than 1% of traffic, but retailers are pouring money into it, and they're hoping those high-intent clicks pay off. Hondurans head to the polls today in a presidential election that looks to be an extremely tight race and is already surrounded by accusations of fraud. That's before votes are even cast. Polls show a virtual tie between the 3 top candidates: Rixi Moncada from the ruling leftist Libre Party, Nasri Asfura from the Conservative National Party,
Vamos a trabajar para ser una Honduras de esperanza,
and Salvador Nasralla from the centrist Liberal Party. With a neck-and-neck race, political analysts warn rival victory claims could spark chaos. Our Mexico and Central America Bureau Chief, Stephen Eisenheimer, says the Organization of American States and the U.S. have already raised concerns.
There's a few things going on. Effectively, you've got the Partido Libre, which is the ruling party, which is accusing the other two main candidates of planning a coup, and there's a lot of very strong rhetoric against them and trying to get in the way of the democratic process. You've got the opposition parties that are accusing the ruling party of effectively interfering in the way that the electoral authority is planning these elections, bringing in the military to have a kind of a much greater role than they usually would in the kind of planning and execution of the vote. So you've got all sides already crying foul. And I think that's what's really got people worried about it. Honduras also has a history of disputed elections resulting in violence. 2017 was a strong example of that, when Juan Orlando Hernandez won a very, very disputed vote, and at least 20 people died in clashes in the streets afterwards, according to rights groups. That's why the US has issued this statement to say, we're watching. Same with OAS, the Organization of American States. They'll be on the ground observing this election on the day and could play a pretty important role in terms of what comes afterwards.
If you're considering taking the family on a big hike to work off that post-Thanksgiving food coma, here's a little adventure inspiration. British ex-paratrooper Carl Bushby has spent much of the last 3 decades walking around the world, literally. His 36,000-mile trek started in Chile and has taken him across jungles, frozen seas, even the Caspian, which he swam. Now, as a 56-year-old on the final stretch of his journey in Hungary, Bushby is reflecting on how the world around him has changed. He spoke to Reuters about how his journey began and the obstacles that kept him on the road for 27 years.
People said, well, you can't do that. And then the idea grew, the lines got longer, and eventually got the whole world. And then you're like, I could do this. And the world said, no one can do that. It's silly. So almost kind of evolved like a bad bet with the guys in the army, and then them just, taking the mickey and saying, no, you can't do that kind of thing. And I was utterly convinced that yes, you can, and then so it kind of just evolved from there.
That bad bet turned into the Goliath expedition, a walk without modernized transport. Bushby says it wasn't just the miles that slowed him down.
The obvious one being the pandemics and wars and geopolitics, like we're trying to get permission to get into Iran and things like that, was all stopped because the geopolitics fell apart right at the wrong time, and that, forced us to end up swimming across the Caspian, so...
Bushby expects to be finished by late next year and says the best way to handle the end of a challenge like this is to start another one. Travelers across parts of the U.S. are bracing for storms as they head home after Thanksgiving weekend. But storms, of course, are not unique to the U.S., nor even to Earth. News from NASA this week shows that the atmosphere on Mars experiences electrical storms. Scientists are calling them mini lightning. Our resident science expert, Will Dunham, explains.
NASA's Perseverance rover has detected electrical discharges often associated with whirlwinds called dust devils that regularly dance over the Martian surface. Perseverance picked up these electrical discharges in audio and electromagnetic recordings. The researchers say these discharges, which one of the scientists called mini lightning, sound like the crack of a whip. Mars joins Earth, Jupiter, and Saturn as the planets known to have electrically active atmospheres. These discharges could pose a risk to the electronic equipment of current robotic missions and potentially could pose a hazard for astronauts who in the future will walk on the surface of the red planet.
Coca-Cola. For the big, for the small, the short, and the tall. Peacemakers, risk-takers. For the optimists, pessimists. For long-distance love. For introverts and extroverts. The thinkers and the doers. For old friends and new. Coca-Cola. For everyone. Pick up some Coca-Cola at a store near you.
And for today's recommended read, check out Reuters' stunning 2025 photo collection. Over 1.5 million images from 150 countries documenting everything from ongoing wars to Trump's presidential return to spontaneous moments of joy and human resilience around the world. We'll have a link in the show notes. For more on any of the stories from today, check out Reuters.com or the Reuters app. Don't forget to follow us on your favorite podcast player. If you're listening on a smart speaker, just ask for the latest news from Reuters 7 days a week. We'll be back tomorrow with our daily headline show.
From ABC News Nightline at 4 a.m. last Saturday.
Minute Maid Zero Sugar tastes so great, it sells itself. So we didn't bother to write this ad. Minute Maid Zero Sugar. Great taste, zero sugar. Sells itself.
This is Nightline.
Tonight, fake Ozempic and illicit weight loss drugs flooding the internet. Some even saying it made them sick.
I seriously felt like I was about to die. At one point, I opened my eyes and I couldn't see. Everything was blurry.
As A-listers from Amy Schumer to Meghan Trainor and even Oprah go public with their use of GLP-1 meds, those without celebrity budgets are looking for bargains. With bad actors seemingly everywhere, how can you be sure you're getting the real thing?
How easy is it to get in contact with somebody who's either selling counterfeit or some sort of weight loss drug?
Very easy.
Plus, date my friend. What's old is new again.
The apps sometimes are just, for me, it's just too impersonal.
Some people trading dating apps for PowerPoint presentations.
Why a PowerPoint? There's something that's quirky about PowerPoints.
And pairing up to pitch their bestie to a group of strangers.
Why shop? I ask you, why not?
Did anyone find love? And the Jonas Brothers start the Christmas countdown with the gift of time.
From ABC News headquarters in New York, this is Nightline.